All right, my friends, as we ease into the new year, I want to share with you some of my favorite quick habits. These are ones that take about 30 seconds that will help you keep a home that is cleaner and tidier naturally. Now, if you're not new to my channel, you know I'm all about preaching the importance of daily habits to keeping a home that's easier to tend, to keeping a home that's just like easier to manage, that has less stuff. It really comes down to the little habits we are doing every single day. And a lot of these little habits take literally a minute or less. So let's dive into some of my favorite 30-second habits to keep your space tidier. For number one, I have to start with one that I talk about all the time, and that is to clear off your flat surfaces. I think if I had to pick the biggest habit change that I have made in my life to keeping a home that is tidier and easier to manage, is that I am constantly working on keeping my flat surfaces clean. We live in a home where we have 2 adults who work from home full time, and we have 2 small children, so flat surfaces are constantly getting piled up with stuff throughout the day at all different times throughout the day. I actually shared a short just recently where I took video of my kitchen at different intervals throughout the day just to sort of show what a space can look like throughout the day. And it's really can be crazy how in the difference of an hour, not much can change, or in the difference of an hour, every counter can be sprawled out with stuff. And the thing about stuff is that stuff accumulates more stuff. It doesn't sound like it would, but having a lot of stuff somehow makes it easier for us to become clutter blind than if you had a cleared spot with only 1 or 2 things. So I am literally constantly always clearing surfaces off, because using 30 seconds at different points throughout the day is way easier than expecting that I'm gonna find 10 or 20 minutes at the end of the day. If you get into the habit of just always working on keeping surfaces clear, it doesn't build up and it just becomes a habitual thing. Going back to that series of videos that I took of my kitchen, you can see that the counters are sort of like getting cluttered and then getting uncluttered and then getting cluttered and then getting uncluttered, because I really adopted this daily habit from constantly clearing off clutter from my surfaces when I see it. And the beautiful thing is it really does only take 30 seconds. All right, habit number 2 is to put it away. It is really common for us to take something and just place it down on the nearest convenient flat surface, but usually it will take us less than 30 seconds to actually get that item to where it goes. Take, for example, when you get home from work or from running errands and you take your keys and you place them on the counter, or your purse and you put it on the counter. It would probably take you 30 seconds or less to actually just hang those items up on a hook where they belong. You come in with the mail and you throw it down on the table, but it would probably take you less than 30 seconds to quickly pull out any junk mail and then put other important mail away where you store your mail. I'm not sure why it is that we tend to avoid that one extra step of putting things away, but we do, and thus you kind of have to remind yourself. And the more you do it, the more habitually it happens. So next time you catch yourself going to just place something down on a table, ask yourself, where does this go? And take the extra 30 seconds it takes to put it away where it goes. All right, number 3, empty the trash. You guys, when the trash can is full, empty it, okay? We're not trash compactors, and I'm saying this in full like solidarity because I have been there a million times. You go to throw something away and the trash can is full and you're like, I don't have time to empty it right now, and you just try to push more down into there. But the truth is, I bet if you timed yourself, it would take you 30 to maybe 60 seconds to empty that trash can. It's one of those things that we instinctually tend to avoid, but if you actually do it, quickly pull out the trash, walk it out to the bin outside and put a new bag in the trash can, it really does not take that much time. Stop being trash compactors. All right, next up, switch the laundry. Laundry is one of those things that it's really easy for it to get away from us, and we think that skipping a day or 2 is not that big of a deal because like how many clothes can we honestly wear in a day? But it is amazing how quickly laundry can pile up, and when laundry is piled up, suddenly you're faced with many loads and a huge task, as opposed to if you just adopt this as a very quick habit once or twice throughout your day. For me, conquering laundry 100% comes down to habit and quick little habits, because I do not want to devote 30 minutes of time to doing my laundry. So for me, before my kids wake up every morning, I go down to my laundry room and I take some type of action down there, whether it's I need to put a load in, I need to switch a load, I need to bring a load upstairs, whatever it is, and then I do the same exact thing after I put my kids to bed. I go downstairs, I see what needs to happen. Does the load need to go in? Does the load need to get switched? Does the load need to come upstairs? It honestly usually takes me less than a minute to do, but by doing it exactly the same time every single day, it ensures that it happens and it's not piling up on me. Conquering laundry every day is really the best way to do it. The next habit that's probably going to take you less than 30 seconds, maybe only 10 seconds, is to let it go. You know that thing that you've been holding on to just because you just might need it? Here's the thing. You don't, and you probably won't. The only time you even remember that item exists is when you open the drawer where it lives and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that. And I get it, sometimes it's really hard to let go of things, especially these just in case items that we think we might need at some point. And I will link some videos down below where I go into a lot more detail about what to do with these just in case pieces when you sort of get hung up on not knowing how to let go of things. But I want you to work on to give yourself permission to let go of these things that you don't really need to and you're holding on to just because. The more you habitually let go of things you don't need, even just little small things that take 10 or 15 seconds to get rid of, the easier it becomes and the more routinely you will do it. You'll be able to look at your things more objectively in the future and avoid holding on to unnecessary items. You'll also become a lot more conscious when you're shopping. It'll help you avoid buying excess things and impulse purchases. My next habit is to clean as you go. Instead of letting things pile up and then taking a huge amount of time to clean them, take 30 seconds here, 15 seconds here, 60 seconds there to just clean little things as you go. This is something people talk a lot about in the kitchen with keeping a tidier kitchen. Like they say, clean as you're cooking something. It's going to make it so you don't have this big, huge mess at the end, right? But you can adopt this idea in literally any aspect of your home. As you're brushing your teeth, you're putting away your lotion bottles like behind the vanity or whatever. As you're walking through the living room, you're grabbing the extra glasses and you're walking them into the kitchen. You're just in this constant state of like seeing little things and cleaning them as you go. And the more that you do this, the more habitual it will become. In my mind, I'd rather take 30 seconds here and 30 seconds here than to have some big, huge cleaning task that I need to do at the end of the day or on my weekend. All right, next up, take off your shoes when you come in the house. I've seen a lot of things online where people share how they think that it's like different in American culture or only in American culture where we don't take our shoes off when we enter the house. And so I'm curious how you guys like all navigate this, because I remember growing up, we never had to take our shoes off when we entered the house. I mean, I definitely grew up knowing that if I went to a guest house, you would ask if you should take your shoes off. And as I got older, I usually would do it just out of courtesy, but it was not something that we just habitually did. We would walk into the house and wear our shoes in the house like it was no big deal. But the truth is, once I had my own children, I became a lot more aware of how much dirt and mess shoes are bringing into the house, especially when you have kids that are younger and they're going through that phase where they are playing on the floor and sitting on the floor a lot, and you are then sitting on the floor with them a lot, and you're like, wow, these floors are gross. So we've actually been working on the habit of taking our shoes off when we come in the house since like maybe last year. The whole family has bought pairs of house slippers that we will like switch into when we come into the house, because I think lots of times the reason that sometimes people don't want to switch out of their shoes is that shoes like provide some support, they provide some protection from like stubbing your toes or whatever, they can provide warmth, but we've swapped this out so now we kind of have like our indoor shoes or our indoor house slippers that we will switch into. And I can tell you it definitely helps keep the floors of my house a lot cleaner. All right, my final habit, which I feel like kind of maybe encompasses a lot of the ones that we've already mentioned, but that is to generally work on reducing visual clutter in your home. Like I said, clutter tends to attract more clutter, and thus having extra visual clutter out in spaces typically just tends to invite us to put more down on our counters and tends to make us clutter bind to things that are on our counters and makes us less likely to keep those surfaces clear. So I try to give things in my house a home, so it all has somewhere that it belongs that's typically out of sight. Whether it's behind a cupboard, whether it's in a basket, whether it's in a bin, I try to find as many places that things can go to where their home is not like out on a counter or a flat surface, creating additional visual clutter. And the reason that I think that this is very helpful is because when things have homes, it's gonna make it way quicker for you to tidy. This is why it's a 30-second habit, because if you have homes for all of these things that typically clutter up your flat flat surfaces, you don't have to think about it. The problem is when things don't have homes, we have to stop and think about like, ooh, where am I gonna put this? How am I gonna store this? What am I gonna do with this? And thus it takes longer, and or we just don't do it and we tend to leave it out. It sits out on a flat surface. Now it attracts more stuff to sit out on the flat surface. You get the idea. Really work on using drawers, cupboards, bins, baskets, whatever you can to contain your visual clutter. It's really just going to help encourage all of the other kind of habits that we discussed in this video as far as keeping your surfaces clear and cleaning as you go. All right, my friends, there you have it. Those are some of my favorite tidy, organization, cleaning type habits that usually take me 30 seconds or less to do throughout my day. I really, truly believe that when it comes to keeping a home that's easier to manage, that stays generally tidy, or that's easier to tidy, it doesn't come down to being this big, huge, crazy cleaning person that has this like everything picture perfect and makes everything clean all the time, but instead just comes down to these little tiny habits that I'm doing throughout the day. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and to others, and I will see you all in my next video.